Today's topic is, why was a Gentile IDF soldier killed last week on the Golan Heights, buried 4 amos apart from Jewish soldiers? Was that proper to do? 2 weeks ago, actually, a Gentile IDF soldier on the Golan Heights was killed in a tank accident, and they buried him 4 amot, which is 8 feet apart from Jewish graves. Was that necessary? So this afternoon I'm going to speak about that. But before we begin, did you hear the story about these 2 partners, Greenberg and Goldberg? You didn't hear about that? All my stories are true, but some didn't happen yet. There was 2 partners, Greenberg and Goldberg. They've been partners for 65 years. And Mr. Goldberg had a massive heart attack in the middle of the night. He was rushed by Hatzalah to the Mount Sinai hospital. So Greenberg gets a call that his partner of 65 years got this massive heart attack. He runs to the hospital and he asks the doctor, "How is my partner, Mr. Goldberg?" So the doctor says, "I'm sorry to tell you, Mr. Goldberg, your partner has died." He said, "Oy vey, my partner has died." 10 minutes later, Mr. Greenberg walks up to the doctor and he says, "Doctor, how's my partner, Mr. Goldberg?" So he thought maybe he's in shock, you know. He says, "Listen, I told you, your partner, Mr. Goldberg, is dead." 20 minutes later, he walks up to the doctor again and he says, "Listen, how's my partner, Mr. Goldberg?" So the doctor thinks maybe he's senile. You told him already 3 times, you know, "Your partner, Mr. Goldberg, is dead. Why do you keep asking me for? I told you." He says, "Yeah, I know you told me, but it sounds so good to hear it again." Evelyn, you don't like that? Sounds so good to hear it again, so he kept asking. Sounds okay. All right. Anyway, let's take a look at our sheets. Why was a Gentile IDF soldier killed last week on the Golan Heights, buried apart from Jewish graves? Is that proper? Where the side where it says Gentile and Jewish IDF soldiers buried together. You see that?
Is the question, are they buried together or is too close or too far?
No, I'm saying that they're not buried together. The question is, why are they not buried together? Is that proper? Is that proper to keep them buried apart? The family was very upset. The family of this non-Jewish soldier was obviously very upset that her son, who gave his life for the country, could not be buried next to Jewish soldiers. They buried him Dalet Amot. Was that necessary? So let's take a look at the sources on the side where it says halachic viewpoint. You have that, Nechama? Halachic viewpoint? Source number 1 is Tractate Sanhedrin, Mem Zayin in Hebrew. There it's speaking about that the court that used to execute people in the days of the temple, persons were executed for capital crimes. They had 2 separate cemeteries. One for those executed by Skila and Sreifa, and one by Hereg v'Chenek. Person executed by one type of Misas Bezdin was not buried with a cemetery with an other executed criminal, different type. Why is that? So the Talmud says, "La hoya karvin kol kach lama v'she'ein karvin rasha etzel tzaddik." You don't bury a rasha next to a tzaddik. So therefore, Bezdin had a separate cemetery for those executed criminals. They wouldn't allow them to be buried with the regular Jews because you don't bury a tzaddik next to a rasha. So a person executed by the court, obviously a rasha. So therefore, they couldn't bury him in a regular Jewish cemetery. Bezdin had their own Boot Hill. Okay, so this is a source, so you don't bury a Rishayim next to tzaddikim. Okay? So we'll see. We'll see. Let's take a look. Source, the second source is Gittin Samach Aleph. See Gittin Samach Aleph, the second source. Tana Rabbanan, Mefanasim Aniyah Nochvim Aniyah Yisrael. We are supposed to, charity is not just for Jewish people. You're supposed to give charity even to the poor non-Jews. They also deserve charity. And when you visit sick people, it's not just Jewish sick people, but non-Jewish sick people also deserve your visit in the hospital. The Korvin Meisei Nochrim in Meisei Yisrael. So Talmud Gittin says you bury non-Jewish dead together with what? With Jewish dead. B'nei Darkei Shalom. So here it seems to say in Gittin Samach Aleph that non-Jewish dead people can be buried what? Together with Jewish dead people. B'nei Darkei Shalom. What does Darkei Shalom mean? We'll see what does Darkei Shalom mean. Ways of peace. Not to cause anti-Semitism. So the Gemara in Gittin seems to say that you bury Meisei Nachrim together Meisei Yisrael. So Rashi in Gittin says, in Meitei Yisrael, loy bekivrei Yisrael. It doesn't mean that you bury Gentile dead in the same cemetery with what? With Jewish people. Rashi says it doesn't mean that. It means that we what? We occupy ourselves with burying Gentile dead. It's a mitzvah to bury their dead, but not in the same cemetery with what? With Jewish people. So you see, from the Gemara in Gittin and Rashi, that even though there is a mitzvah, it's a chesed shel emet, to bury a dead person, because you do a chesed for a live person, you always think, what's in it for me? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But you do a chesed for a dead person, the greatest chesed you can do for a dead person is to what? To bury him. There's a chesed shel emet, because you know he can't pay you back. So the Gemara in Gittin says that there's a mitzvah to bury a non-Jewish person as well, but not in the same cemetery with what? With a Jewish person.
Why does it say im?
So Rashi says, im, so you see Rashi Gittin Samach Aleph, im Meitei Yisrael. Rashi says, I underlined it, you see that? Loy bekivrei Yisrael. When it says together with Jewish people, it doesn't mean in the same cemetery, but it means just like you occupy yourself with burying dead Jews in a Jewish cemetery, there's also a mitzvah to bury non-Jews in a Gentile cemetery. That's what im means. Okay? That's what im means. So if you take a look at the Rambam, Hilchas Avel, that's underlined in yellow, I think, right? No, it's not?
Not on the line, but we see it.
It's in yellow. Rambam Hilchas Avel. Is there, right? Yes? I think it's
Not on the line.
Yellow's on the other side.
No, down here.
Rambam Hilchas Avel.
Right here.
Rambam Hilchas Avel on the same side says Kovrin Meitei Goyim Umenachma Veleim, which is a mitzvah to bury Gentile dead. Umenachma Veleim. There's a mitzvah to comfort, to go to a wake. Did you know that, Mikima? I didn't know that. The Rambam said that just like there's a mitzvah to what? To go visit a person that's sitting Shiva, there's also a mitzvah to be Menachem Ovel, a Gentile family that lost their relative. Did you know that? Good thing you came today.
What about the Kavara?
If they have a cross, you don't do that. I'm talking you don't have a cross. Umevakim choleim, and there's a mitzvah, see the Rambam Hilchas Avel? And there's a mitzvah to visit their sick. B'nei Darkei Shalom. So what does B'nei Darkei Shalom mean? So I would say to prevent anti-Semitism, right? But Rav Soloveitchik says, Nechama, that's not pshat. Rav Soloveitchik says it's not just to prevent anti-Semitism, but there's a pasuk in Mishlei, Dorecheo Darkei Noam, V'chol Nitivoteo Shalom. There's a pasuk in Mishlei that the ways of Torah are sweet and pleasant. V'chol Nitivoteo Shalom. And all the ways of the Torah are ways of shalom. So, Mibdei Darkei Shalom doesn't only mean to prevent anti-Semitism, said Rav Soloveitchik, but the Rambam means, since it's a pasuk in Mishlei, Proverbs 3, that all the ways of the Torah are shalom, and every human being has a tzelem Elohim. Every human being was created, Yechiel and what, in the image of God. So therefore, there's a mitzvah what? To visit the sick of a non-Jew, to bury him, and to what? And to comfort his relatives when he's sitting Shiva.
Yeah.
Okay? So does that mean that you're supposed to do it in the same cemetery? No. If you look at the next source, the Ran says, Karve Mesa Avdik HaChavim Imesa Yisrael. So Rashi says, he explains, when the Talmud says you bury them together, it doesn't mean in the same cemetery. It means just like you occupy yourself with burying what? Jewish dead. There's also a mitzvah to occupy yourself with burying non-Jewish dead, but again, not in the same cemetery. The question is, why not? Okay? So if you turn the page over to side number 2. See side, there's a 2 up there. Avram, you have that? Side number 2. Moshe, you have a paper?
Yeah.
Side number 2. Side number 2, the second source. Shalis V'Tshuvas Saride Eish. This was written, the second source on side number 2. This was written by Rabbi Yechiel Weinberg, who survived Auschwitz. The great tzaddik and Talmud Chacham, and he wrote a tshuva sefer called Saride Eish. What does Saride Eish mean? Survivors of the fires of Auschwitz. So this great tzaddik, Rabbi Weinberg, Zechat Tzaddik Avracha, survived the fires of Auschwitz. He wrote a tshuva sefer, Saride Eish, the survivors of the crematoria. And in it, someone asked him a question. See? Shalti Shalarav Dr. P. Dr. Pei. You see that? Dr. Pei. Im ligvor et aronot shel afar hanesrofim l'acha misasa b'kivrat Yisrael. Yachat m'shar kavorim. He was asked a shaila. Those Jews that don't know any better, they leave a will that they should be cremated, which is a terrible sin against the Torah. So someone asked him, may these cremated ashes be buried, what, Moshe? In Kivrei Yisrael. You hear what he was asked? By a Dr. Pei. He doesn't want to say the guy's name. This is in the 1950s. You hear this, Nachum? Can you bury the ashes of cremated Jews? A lot of Reform Jews, they have themselves cremated. The question is, Yochanan, can they bury him in a Jewish cemetery? What does this great rabbi say? Barur pashut she'asur. It's forbidden. It's forbidden to bury the ashes of a cremated Jew in a Jewish cemetery. V'chas v'shalom, he says. You see that, Shelley? V'chas v'shalom lo yiteheg zois b'Yisrael. Should not be allowed. Right? Why shouldn't it be allowed? I'm skipping down a little bit where it's underlined. Ein karvin Rasha etzel tzaddik. Since the Talmud tells us in Masechta Gittin on page 61 that you don't bury a tzaddik next to a rasha. Someone that has himself cremated is a terrible rasha. So therefore, you don't bury a tzaddik next to a rasha, and therefore, you're not allowed to bury the ashes of a cremated Jew in a Jewish cemetery. Even worse, someone that leaves a will to have his body cremated is worse than a regular rasha. Yechiel, why?
He cares stuff that he's burning. It's like it's not peace.
So he says,
It's not peace.
you have a paper, Chaim. It's important to look inside. Shahalalu hey mishoyim b'chayayim. Welcome, Chaim. Welcome. Shahalalu, a regular Rasha who eats pig and is Mechala Shabbos. He's a Rasha when? When he's alive. V'zeh, and this guy, Avraham, who leaves a will to be cremated, hemshich et rishoshay gam la'acham oisai. Even after he's dead, he continues to be a Rasha by commanding to have his corpse cremated. So he's worse than a living Rasha. He continues his wickedness after he's dead by leaving a will to have his body what? Cremated. I know of a story. One of my Talmidim, a couple of years ago, he's a Baal Tshuva. And his father was a Nebuch Reform Jew. He left a will that after he dies, his body should be cremated. You hear this? So the other siblings are not religious. They were about to have it done. So he snuck into the morgue and he stole his father's body.
Whoa.
You hear this?
Wow.
So what happened?
And he had the body buried. Not to allow the terrible sin after death that his father's cremated, the neshama will not find peace in the afterlife. He snuck into the morgue and he paid off the guys who watched the morgue, and he took the body out before the siblings can what? Have the body cremated. It's a great mitzvah that he did.
What's the tshuva for people in Auschwitz?
What? I'm not talking about that's not their fault. We're talking about a person who deliberately leaves a tzavah to have his body cremated. He's worse than a live Rasha because he continues his evil ways even after he's dead.
They usually go home, they don't get buried.
Mhm.
Somebody takes them home in an urn. They don't get buried.
Put them on the mantle.
Mhm. But he could, right? Burn, baby, burn. What? It's a terrible sin, and you're not allowed to listen to that. If a guy left a will like that, the children have to disobey. So he was about tshuva, so he knew the other siblings didn't care. So he actually snuck into the morgue, he bribed the people there, and he got the body out, and Baruch Hashem was able to bury his father, a big schus that he did, right?
Is that true story?
It's a true story. One of my Talmidim about 5 years ago, yeah? I don't want to say the name because I don't want him to get in trouble with the police.
Did it happen in the United States or here?
Happened here.
What is the basic issue of burning the body?
Or burning the body. There's a pasuk ki kavar tigbarenu. There's a pasuk in Parshas Ki Teitzei. The Torah says ki kavar tigbarenu. You shall bury him and bury him. Why twice? Kavar tigbarenu in Parshas Ki Teitzei. Bury him and bury him. That there's a mitzvah to bury a dead person in the ground. And God told Adam, offer atav al offer tashuv. God told Adam, who wasn't Jewish, you are dirt, and you have to what? Return to the dirt. Naturally. Not to have the body burned up. Right? So, yes?
Okay. Two parts to the question.
Right.
A lot of our people are what called captive children.
Right.
They didn't know that.
They didn't know.
To do that.
Okay.
So they may not be Rishayim. And then what about the people in the Holocaust that were...
Well, that's what Chaim asked. A person in the Holocaust, that's not his fault. He didn't do that. That was done to him, so he's not responsible. Someone killed him and burned him. We're talking when a person knowingly and deliberately leaves a will saying that after he dies, he should be cremated. So that's a terrible sin if he knows better, right? If he knows better, right? If he knows better. So now we get to the second tshuva over here. The Tama Isar, I'm reading the next Sri Deish. Tama the Darke Shalom. So, Darke Shalom is the ways of peace is that you're supposed to bury a Gentile in a Gentile cemetery, but not together with what? With Jews. Not together with Jews, right?
They do it in Florida.
What, they do bury in the same cemetery?
Yeah, they're apart. Jews
Yeah.
are apart, but it's the same cemetery.
But the Rambam, Rivka, seems to say, see where it says V'ulam? V'ulam. You see, that's important, Chaim, to see inside. Ulam. What does ulam mean? But. You see that? There's a big but there. You have a paper, Shalom? Why not? It's important. V'ulam. So up until now, we've been saying, Masha, that to bury non-Jews with Jews in the same cemetery is forbidden. But the Rambam seems to, ulam. You see there's an ulam there? Ulam, there's a big but there. See that? Ulam harambam hilchas malachim. You have that, Rivka?
Yes.
Perig koseh befeirush. V'ligbor meiteihem im meitei Yisrael. Hello? Yechiel, you see this? The Rambam seems to say that it's okay to bury Gentile dead in Meitei Yisrael, with together in the same cemetery. Yiddish Sharona. The Rambam was a super Haredi, no? Great posek. Ligbar meiseyem imeite Yisrael. And you bury Gentile dead together with Jewish dead. V'chein kosef arif b'pnei darkei shalom. Because of ways of peace. Ways of peace, the ways of the Torah in Proverbs 3, all the ways of the Torah shalom. And every human being is created what? The image of God. V'korvim meiseyem akol meisei Yisrael. So according to the Rambam and the Rif, the two greatest Rishonim, they seem to say, what, buddy? It's okay in the same cemetery. Wow. See? Kvahir Abach b'Yeridea. So the Bach is shocked. He wonders, the later poskim, hey, how could the Rambam say that? Also, Liten Lahem, the Gemara seems to say it's forbidden to bury Gentile dead in the Jewish cemetery. And how could the Rambam and the Rif say that it's okay? Right? We say bury them, but not in the same cemetery. And yet the Rambam says it's okay. Yiddish? Mikol Malkam Yochal Ligbor Meitei Nochri im Meitei Yisrael B'chotzer Echad. You hear what he's saying over here? It seems to be okay to bury Gentile dead with Jewish dead b'chotzer echad. What does b'chotzer echad mean? In the same yard. Vim kein ladas habach bedas Rambam. Yiddish, I have it underlined. In kein ladas habach bedas Rambam mutar. Mutar what? It's permitted ligbor akum bebeit kvaret Yisrael. Avram, you see this? It's important to look inside. It's amazing. L'das habach, the great posek, the Bach, the Bayit Chadash, and the Das Rambam. Chavi, you have that? Mutar, it's permitted. Ligbor akum, it's permitted to bury non-Jews. Bebeit kvarot Yisrael, even what? In a Jewish cemetery. Mipnei darkei shalom. The kolshkein she'ein lefanot, and certainly once they're buried together, you're not allowed to what?
Disinter them.
Disinter them.
Disinter them.
Disinter them. Disinter. V'yesh lochush le'eva. So even though you don't agree with the Rambam Sak, it's forbidden to dig up the body of the non-Jew and move it away from the Jewish grave, because it's going to cause eva. What does eva mean? Hatred. But it's amazing what he's saying here, that according to the Bach and according to the Rambam, it is permitted to bury non-Jews in the same cemetery with Jews because of Darkei Shalom. And certainly you're not allowed to remove the non-Jew from the Jewish cemetery. Isn't that incredible? Yes?
So like gets me here, it talks about Akum and a Russia. Doesn't talk about a Chayal and so on.
So I'm going to make a Kal V'chomer. Rivka, don't steal my punchline. I'm going to make a Kal V'chomer. Right? How do you say Kal V'chomer in English? All the more so. Kal V'chomer, I think, is all the, but it sounds better, Kal V'chomer. Yes?
So in south of San Francisco, Wyatt Earp is buried in the Jewish cemetery next to his Jewish wife.
Are you Wyatt Earp?
Yes. In 1929 he died, and his wife buried him
next to her. Okay, that's real togetherness. What? The OK Corral. But just amazing here. I underlined the sources for you. Who's bigger than the Rambam and the Bach? Well, all the other poskim disagree, okay? But these guys had very wide shoulders, the Bach and the Rambam, and they say it's permitted to bury non-Jews in the same cemetery with Jews if they darkei shalom. Right? What? Sections, So, yeah. So even if you don't agree to it, once they're buried, you don't remove the dead body. So now I want to get to what Rivka was saying. This is speaking about a regular non-Jew. What about a non-Jew who gave his life for the state of Israel? Hakara Tatov, the pillar of Judaism is Hakara Tatov. How do you say that in English? To express gratitude and appreciation. Right? That's the Ikar of Yahadut. And therefore, the greatest Jew of all, God never called him by his Jewish name. Who's the greatest Jew of all? Moshe Rabbeinu. That was not his Hebrew name. His Hebrew name was Tov or Tuvia. Remember Fiddle on the Roof?
Yes.
Tuvia, if I was a rich man. The Talmud in Sota 12 says that his Hebrew name was Tuvia, which means God is good. Yet the Torah never calls him by his Hebrew name, only by his Goyish and Mitzri name, because Bat Paro saved his life. So the Torah expresses eternal gratitude to the Bat Paro for saving him, and therefore he's never called by his Hebrew name Tuvia, but only by his Goyish name Moshe Rabbeinu. That's how great the principle of Hakoras HaTov is. Okay? So what about this non-Jewish soldier who was killed and buried 8 feet apart? How his family was upset? Was that necessary?
Right, they're
Would it be
right.
better if he was a Bnei Noah?
It doesn't make a difference.
It would put him in a different...
No, the Talmud Bava Basra, page 10, says something amazing. Harugei Lud are called Kedoshim. Harugei Lud, even though they were not Jewish. What happened there, Harugei Lud? So the Talmud in Bava Basra, page 10, tells the story. When Rome controlled Israel over here, the governor of Israel at the time, his daughter was found murdered in the city of Lud. And the governor said that if you don't hand over the murderer, I will kill out the whole city of Lud. So these two non-Jews, Pappus and Linus, non-Jews who lived in Lud, they said, we killed the daughter, which wasn't true. But they said that they killed the daughter, and they were executed by the Roman authorities, thereby sparing the whole city. The Talmud in Basra, page 10, the Daf Yomi just hit it last week, says that these guys are what? No one can reach their level in Olam Haba. The level that these two guys, they gave their lives for Israel, for the Jewish people, by saying that they killed the Roman governor's daughter, which wasn't true. So by their giving their lives, they spared the whole city of Lud. And the Talmud says they're called Kedoshim, even though they're non-Jews. They're called Chasuda Umata Olam, and no one can reach their level in Olam Haba that these two non-Jews received. So Gentile soldiers who are killed defending Israel are as holy as these Harugei Lud. So there would be no reason to what? To separate them, right? To cause anguish to the family. There's no reason to do that. Where's the Hakoras HaTov for this non-Jewish soldier and also for what? For his family. So I don't know why they did that. It caused a real political storm. But anyway, the Rabbanut decided to what? To do this. I don't think it was necessary. But here you have the sources where the Rambam says in the Bach that even any non-Jew, it's permitted to bury him what? In the cemetery what? With Jews. Because every human being is made in the image of God.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And God told Adam, Ofar ata, ofar tashuf. So even a non-Jew is supposed to be buried in the ground, because Adam and Chava were not Jewish. And God says, you came from the ground, you have to be put back in the ground. And there's a pasuk in Kohelet that the neshama cannot find peace in Olam Haba until the body is put in the ground. So those people that leave a tzavah to be cremated, they're doing a terrible injustice to themselves, and therefore it behooves the family to not listen. To not listen. People don't know that they're causing anguish to the neshama by having the what?
They do not care.
Oh, they don't care about the afterlife.
They don't care about
I don't
anguish.
know about the
Rabbanut does not care about anguish.
About causing anguish to, that's a problem. You have to be more sensitive. That the mother of this Gentile soldier was very upset. She felt that it's a slap in the face to bury her son, Dalet Amot, and there was no need for it, because who's a greater posek than the Rambam and the Bach? And they're speaking about regular non-Jews, not about someone that gave his life for Am Yisrael, and they're the Madreg of Harugei Lud, who are called Kedoshim, what?
You don't need, I mean, if the person is in the IDF,
Right.
it's in Eretz Yisrael, maybe we're not worried about Darkei Shalom. This is a different matzah here. People understand halacha.
But I told you, the Rav Soloveitchik said, Chaim, that Darkei Shalom doesn't mean to prevent anti-Semitism. There's a pasuk in Mishlei Gimel, Proverbs 3, Dorachel Darkei Noam, all her ways. Who's her? The Torah is Noam. What does Noam mean? Sweet and pleasant. V'chol nitivotel shalom. And all her paths lead to shalom. It's nothing to do with anti-Semitism, that's Soloveitchik. Darkei Shalom means that you're supposed to act with love and compassion to each and every human being. Proverbs 3. Is this acting with love and compassion? Yeah. No, it's not. By having this non-Jewish soldier buried apart. It's not acting at all with love and peace. But some people say, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up. Now, who's a greater posik than the Rambam, the Rif, and the Bach? I mean, today these people can't hold a candle to these great poskim, and they think that they what? That they know better. Very strange, Amnochem, right? But these are the facts, but people say, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind's made up. In this week's Parsha, Parshas B'Shalach, it says Moshe Rabbeinu took the bones of Yosef with him, right? So the question is, there was a mitzvah to take the gold and silver out of Mitzrayim. God commanded every Jewish person to take the gold and silver out of Mitzrayim. It's a mitzvah for you to take it out. Moshe Rabbeinu was also Jewish, I think, right? He disobeyed God's command. He didn't take the gold and silver, he took the bones of Joseph.
Precious.
Well, why is that more important? Okay, Joseph made the Jewish people promise that when you leave Egypt, take me with you. But God commanded, go for the gold. What right did Moshe Rabbeinu have to disobey God in favor of obeying what? Yosef. Rav Soloveitchik says, I don't understand. It's nice to listen to Brother Joe, but when the big boss tells you, I'm telling you, drop everything and go for the gold. And Moshe disobeyed God. And he purposely didn't go for the gold. He took the bones of Joseph. Now, how do you jive with that?
No, but he might have been buried with gold and silver in Egypt. It might have been in the book.
He was wearing jewelry. I don't know.
Not that he was.
They buried him with jewelry. What?
So he didn't really disobey.
Like King Tut, right? King Tut.
Promise was like gold.
But Rabbi Soloveitchik asks this question: how could Moses disobey God and obey Joseph? I mean, Joseph is a great, but compared to God. So Rabbi Soloveitchik says something incredible. Please hear me well. Why did Moshe feel that he has to take the bones? Joseph had a lot of kids and grandchildren. Why didn't they take the bones? Why did Joseph feel that he has to take the bones? Huh? Moshe, I'm testing you, see if you're awake. Normally, who takes the bones? The grandchildren, right? Yeah. So Moses, what are you mixing in over here? So Rav Soloveitchik explains, the Medrash says, who was the main instigator against Brother Joe? Who Who was the one that incited the other brothers?
Levi.
Levi, or Levi. Levi jeans? Levi. He is the one that incited all the brothers to get rid of Brother Joe. He was the, how do you say, inciter?
Yes.
The instigator. Levi. Now please hear me well. So whose debt of gratitude to Joseph was the greatest?
Levi.
Even though Levi was the instigator that riled up the other brothers, yet Joseph did not treat him any differently than what? He was kind and compassionate to Levi, just like the other 11, even though Levi was his worst enemy, Yet Joseph didn't take any revenge. He treated Levi with the same compassion and kindness other brothers. Whose debt of gratitude to Joe was the greatest? Levi.
Yeah. Moshe.
Levi was dead. Moshe is Levi's grandson. So Moshe felt, listen, God, and this time I can't obey you. Hakara tatov. Joseph was so kind to my grandpa, even though my grandpa was the instigator that riled up the brothers against him. So my hakara tatov to Joseph trumps, I like that word, trumps God's command to take the gold.
Wow.
Now, where do you see that? Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah. God is the Torah. And the Torah says, go for the gold. But Derech Eretz Rei Kodma LaTorah. Menschlichkeit, Hakoras HaTov, comes before the Torah. So therefore, Moses had a right to disobey God and not go to the jewelry store. Go to the cemetery instead. Because Menschlichkeit, Derech Eretz, Hakoras HaTov, Kodma LaTorah. So how dare you bury this Goyish soldier apart? Where's your Derech Eretz? Where's your Hakoras HaTov? I don't know, some people just don't get it. What good is the Torah if you don't have Derech Eretz? If you don't have Menschlichkeit? And therefore the Ramban says something amazing. The Torah, there's 5 books in the Torah. The Torah is given in which book? In the second book. Why is the Torah not given in the first book? Why delay the giving of the Torah till book number 2? Why not give the Torah in book number 1? What? Beautiful. So Chaim said, Ramban says, before you can get the Torah, you have to learn Derech Eretz. The book of Bereshit is called the Sefer HaYesharim, the book of the upright. Who are the upright? The mothers and the fathers of Israel. The mama and the papas. First, you have to learn how to behave with Menschlichkeit. Who are the avos and the mothers dealing with? Who are they dealing with? Pagans. And yet how they conducted themselves with such derech eretz, such compassion. Once you learn that, only then are you ready for book number 2 for the Torah. But the avos and the emos, they were dealing with pagans, and yet they conducted themselves with such respect, didn't talk down to them. They gave them the kavod and the dignity, even though they were pagans. Only when you learn that lesson, Moshe, are you ready to get the Torah. So therefore the Torah couldn't be given in book number 1. Because you don't have Derech Eretz, you can't get the Torah. What good is it? But some people just don't get it. Yes, Rabbi Yaakov.
Just as a point of interest, there are in Israel, I think 5 British military cemeteries. Like, for example, at the entrance to Hadassah Hospital.
Right.
Right. It's a big military. There's a huge cemetery in Lud.
Okay.
Operated to this very day. They're operated by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission.
Okay.
England, and there's overwhelmingly Christian soldiers buried there.
Mm-hmm.
The whole empire.
Right.
The Jews and the Muslims are buried separately.
In the same cemetery?
They're in different
It's
lines.
like a section.
Yeah, different sections. And there's no wall.
Okay.
But there's a line of Jewish graves and there's a whole plot of Muslim graves because a lot of the soldiers came from India and they were Muslims.
Okay.
The British Army. So the British separated the Jews and the Muslims from the Christians, I think out of respect.
Okay.
And to this day, you go up in front of the hospital. It's a really interesting, Harat Sofim.
Where I
People
teach,
go right
yeah.
past and don't look at it. It's a big cemetery.
Where I teach on Mount Zion, the Asper Yeshiva, 20 feet away, there's a Muslim cemetery.
Right, down
That's
there.
a-
20 feet away, where I teach.
Is it what?
A Muslim cemetery that's 100 years old.
Yeah.
And you have to treat it with respect.
My Sprecher.
Yes?
You have a minute?
Yes.
Okay. He won't tell you, but Jay,
Yes.
he likes things war and cemetery. And
Right.
That's a tough guy.
He
Mm.
was in the cemetery in Lud, a very big military cemetery. He saw a kever of someone named Finkelstein with a cross on it.
Okay.
And he went to all the trouble in the world.
To find
And
out
he got it changed.
to a Magen David. Wow, what a...
Wait, there's a long
The chesed shel emet that you did. The chesed shel emet. Yeah.
No, just
Go ahead.
there's a line of Jewish graves of the First World War. And there was a grave with the name Finkelstein. He was killed in 1917
Yeah, fighting for the British.
for the British.
Right.
And he had a cross on the grave. So I wrote to the British consul and they
Wow.
wrote to the war.
And they actually answered you.
Yeah, and they tend to follow. No, very interesting. I did this around 1987.
Wow.
So they sent me a letter and they said whenever a soldier gets buried,
Right.
gets killed, and he's going to be buried outside of England,
Right.
outside of his home country,
Right.
they send a letter to the family and ask what they want on the grave.
Uh-huh.
And if you get, and they got, in the case of Finkelstein, they got no answer. We automatically got a
Assumed that he was a non-Jew.
checked the records, and indeed he was Jewish, and they brought a new stone from.
Amazing. What a Magen David. Wow.
And
What a schus you have.
the end of the story was that during the First World War, his family had moved from England to America and never got the letter.
They never got the letter.
But
Wow.
they changed it.
Baruch Hashem. What? Kol kavod, right? This idea goes so far. In Exodus 4, Yechiel, at the burning bush, God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, go down to Egypt with the message, let my people go. Don't delay. The Pasuk says he didn't go to Egypt. He went to Yisro to ask permission. The boss just told you, Reb Nachum, go down to Egypt, let my people go. Pack your bags and go now. The Torah goes out of her way in Exodus 4. He didn't go. First he went to Yisro to ask permission. Can I leave? And only when Yisro said, you have permission, did he go. But God told you to go. But Yisro was so kind. Remember he was a fugitive?
Yeah.
He ran away from Egypt. Who took him in? Who protected him? Yisro.
Respect.
So he felt that without Yisro's permission, he couldn't go even after God told him, go down. Hakora tato. Hakori is his father-in-law, right? But he took him in, he protected him from the KGB who were looking for him. So therefore he didn't go until he asked Yisro, his father-in-law, can I go? And if Yisro would have said no,
He'd have gone anyway.
he would have gone anyway?
Yes.
I don't think so. I'm asking, I don't know.
Hashem told me to go.
Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah, it's incredible. More than that.
It's a good thing he didn't ask
The whole
his
story
mother.
of,
Good thing he didn't ask his mother-in-law.
the whole story of Mitzrayim is.
1 minute, please. You got me on a roll. In the book of Bamidbar, you can look it up. God tells Moshe, you go to war against Midian. Remember the Midianite women, they seduced the Jewish men. They caused 24,000 Jews to die in the plague. The Midianite women, the Moabite women. God says, you lead an army to take revenge against Midian. You can check the text. Pashas Pinchas. He doesn't do it. Say, the boss said, you, Moses, go lead an army, take revenge against Midian. They caused the death of 24,000 Yidden. by seducing them, you know. He doesn't do it, he sends Pinchas instead. So the Talmud is shocked. God just told you, you, Moses, lead the army. What are you handing off to Pinchas for? So what does the Talmud say? Hakora Satov. He was a fugitive from Egypt. Yisro could not have taken him in without the permission of the Midianite king. The Egyptian KGB was hunting for him. He was a fugitive in Egypt. Yisro took him in and protected him. Could he have done it without the permission of the Midianite king? Yechiel? No. So therefore Moshe felt that he could not go attack Midian. Because if it wasn't for the Midianite government, he would have been handed over to the KGB in Egypt. So even though God said, you go fight Midian, he didn't do it. He handed it off to Pinchas to teach that Akara Satov, i.e. Derech Eretz, Kodma LaTorah. Many people just don't get that. They just don't get that. Ad kedei kach. The Torah has to point out. God says, you go fight Midian, Pasha Pinchas. You go look it up. He doesn't go, he sends Pinchas. Where does Pinchas come from? God, I never told you to send Pinchas.
What's his family now?
Huh?
Zipporah.
What?
She was Midianite.
That's right. But Midian protected him.
Right.
They took him in when he was a hunted fugitive. So he felt that he could not be the one to attack Midian, even though God told him, because Hakara Tatov. That's how far the principle. And over here, to bury this soldier alone, causing anguish to his family, I don't think it was the right thing to do, especially when you have great poskim like the Rambam and the Bach, who say it's permitted to bury any Gentile next to a Jew. And a Kal V'chomer, certainly, what? A Gentile soldier. So I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know. But anyway. Any questions? Comments? Yes? No, why not? We have a class at Thursday, 2 o'clock on current events in the Haftorah. Hope to see you. Thank you very much.